Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1412, written by Labretirementhome. The cosmic dance that stopped time. Once, while walking in the early morning, I saw an asteroid enter the atmosphere and break apart cinematically. There was no flame or light. It seemed to be going in slow motion. Against the pale, early morning sky, it was white and gray, more like a snowball than anything else. For a brief few seconds, I could see the detail of its surface as it essentially fell apart and disappeared. But just before it disappeared, time seemed to pause. The image of this thing, this asteroid, was stuck in the sky for at least 10 seconds. It was really huge, bigger than the full moon. My best guess is that it was very, very far away and breaking up in the upper atmosphere, but that the humidity of the atmosphere at that particular angle and that particular moment magnified it the way the moon is sometimes magnified on the horizon and looks enormous as well. There was no one around. I don't think I'll ever see anything like it again in my whole life. It was beautiful. I can only say that this is the only explanation that I can come up with for what I saw, and I have no way to prove it or disprove it to anyone or myself. I can never know for certain what it was I saw. Case file 1412. The cosmic dance that stopped time. So an asteroid caught in a time portal up in the sky? That sounds so damn cool. Just trying to imagine it, let alone experiencing it yourself. But it does happen fairly commonly, with planes especially. People will just literally see a plane hovering in the air, completely frozen. And yeah, I get that depending on air currents up in the sky, you can have slowdown, but it would never be completely still. Like there's no wobbling even in place. There would be wobbling from the differences in temperature and pressure that gives lift to begin with. So the plane could be stuck in one spot, maybe. Even that would be extremely rare, but you would still have some wobble and tilt and everything going on from the wind and lift and all that. Planes definitely get caught in temporal loops, or at least time freezes. And I don't see why even an asteroid couldn't be caught in that too. Doesn't matter how fast you're going initially, if you travel into that pocket where things are distorted, space-time itself isn't the same, well yeah, you're gonna have weird effects like that, just being caught in the sky. Pretty cool, but very weird. Case file number 1413, written by Purple Vein 99, The New Year's Eve Time Warp. We were newlyweds. That first year, we got into a lot of fights. That particular day was New York Eve, 2000. We had both worked and had different ideas about where and how to spend New Year's Eve. I was 8 months pregnant and wanted us to spend it with my family. He wanted to spend it with his brothers and friends, drinking. I felt wretched. We got into a huge fight. He left and I cried myself to sleep. Sometime after 11, I woke up and found myself still alone. I still felt awful, and he didn't answer any of my pages. Cell phones were a thing, but we didn't have any yet. I decided to go to my parents alone, but once there, everyone's pitying stares and whispers just made me leave. I was certain that he'd be home by the time I got back, but he wasn't, and I just cried anew. And I fell asleep again. I woke up to the sound of voices and his laughter. He was outside. I heard him clear as day, cutting up with his brother. I looked at the digital clock on the bedside table. Close to 4 a.m. I was livid. I heard him come up the stairs, rattle the screen door, unlock the door and come inside. I heard him lock the door, set his keys on the kitchen table, heard him walk down the hall to our bedroom. Felt him sitting on the edge of the bed, pat me on the leg. Then he stood and I thought he was just standing there, staring down at me. That's when I heard the slam of car doors. His and his brother's voices are laughing. I immediately sat up and looked around. There was no one in the room but me. Case file 1413, The New York Eve Time Warp. So this progressed from anger to extraordinarily creepy in the skip of a beat. Damn, it is likely a time loop, but that wouldn't make it any more comfortable even knowing it. And I have to say, your husband at the time? People aren't always going to agree on what to do. But I think to just go out on your own and do it anyways, no matter what, especially if you're gonna make someone feel that bad. I mean, you just have to know your partner, I guess. But yeah, it's unfortunate when people can treat each other that terribly. and then seemingly having no empathy over that fact. Doesn't seem right to me. I don't know what happened after. Maybe he apologized. I hope so. Bonus file written by Anynomous. The silent figure that opened my bedroom door. Years ago, when I was in high school, my mom used to work in Brisbane, about an hour and a half from where we live. Most of the time, she would stay there for a few nights instead of driving back and forth every morning and night. I am an only child, so I had the house to myself. One night, when I was asleep in bed, someone opened my bedroom door. I sat up bleary-eyed and just assumed Mom had come back from Brisbane for the night and was checking in on me. I rolled over and went back to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, my door was still open and Mom wasn't home. So I thought that she had already left for work again. Usually there would be a note left by her and a few dishes left behind, but there wasn't. I called her and asked her if she'd come back last night. She hadn't. Okay, so maybe the wind had blown open my door during the night and I was just dreaming when I thought I saw someone in my doorway? There was an open window in the hallway opposite my door, so I checked it out. The issue was that my door was a sliding door, not on hinges. So there is no way the wind could have opened it. The front door to the house was still locked in the morning and all the downstairs windows were closed and locked as well. To this day, I am convinced someone was in the house, but no one had broken in and nothing had been stolen, and I was the only one who saw it. Case notes for the bonus file: the silent figure that opened my bedroom door. So first, your mom is one hard worker. Actually, my mom was similar. When I was 13 or something, my parents divorced. I lived with my mom, and she was working. Of course, I was homeschooled, so I would be at home all day, just playing games, studying when I could. But she was hard at work, working 2 jobs, and it's tough. She didn't have to commute 3 hours, which is just insane. But still, shout out to all the hardworking moms and dads too. But yes, this would be as disturbing as it gets. Anything invading or creeping around as we sleep, as we're most vulnerable, it will never not be profoundly unsettling to me. Even from a distance, just reading the story, I feel unsafe. What if it's happening to me and I just don't realize the door is opening? Not something you want. Now, it could have just been a human being, a thief, that saw the kid and said, oh, well, maybe I won't steal from this place. I don't know, that seems unlikely, but it is possible. We'll never know, but damn, just creepy. Bonus file written by Big Mark 54, the ghostly Jack Russell of 88. In 1988, a friend and I were staying in an extremely small, one-bedroom house for a week in the middle of the Allegheny Mountains. The closest neighbor was almost 5 miles away. There was nothing around but country. Late one night, we were up listening to music and heard a dog scratching at the door. It was a small, friendly Jack Russell, so we let it in and gave it some food and water. We were sitting in the living room when the dog ran past into the bedroom, then slowly backed out of the bedroom, growling and snarling with the fur on his back standing straight up. We both stood up, grabbed our jackets, and walked out of the house. We stood outside the front door calling for the dog, but the dog wouldn't come, so we shut the door and walked away from the house to calm down because it freaked us out a little. We kept our eyes on the front door. There was no back door, and the house was easy to see because the porch light was the only light around for miles. It was dead quiet. We didn't hear anything. We couldn't even hear the dog anymore. After about 30 minutes, we went back into the house and the dog was gone. We never saw it again. For a few days, we tried to figure out just how the dog could have gotten out of the house or what could have spooked it so bad that night, but we never did. The dog couldn't have gotten out without someone letting it out. We didn't see anyone come out, and as far as we could tell, there was no one around for miles. We didn't see another person or a car drive past the entire time we stayed there. Me and the friend that was there that day are still friends today. Every now and again we bring it up and try to explain it in a way that makes sense, but we never can. Case notes for the bonus file: the ghostly Jack Russell of 88. What I want to know most is, where did the dog go? Did someone, or rather something, actually steal this dog? Or was the dog even truly materialized? Maybe it was ethereal or ghostly, as you say, and maybe it was barking at something only it could see, something that hadn't materialized in our plane. Definitely unsettling, and yet not as unsettling as other stories I've read. I'm not sure why, but it seems almost more wholesome. Not exactly threatening. Now time for the quote of the day. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Ane Nin. So the more courageous you are, doesn't mean you have no fear. It just means you're willing to stand and go against that fear. I'm afraid of everything. I still remember the first time going on camera. That was terrifying. But I'm an introvert, so, putting yourself out there is never going to be, well, for some people maybe it's easy, but for other people it's going to be terrifying. And that's the other context, is that one person's horrible challenge is another person's Tuesday. So we're not all afraid of the same things. And it's important to realize that if you're afraid of something, make sure that the fear is justified. Because maybe it's not something that you need to be afraid of, and in fact, going against that fear would be highly beneficial. It's like a room full of doors, and fear keeps the door closed. Just make sure never to lock the door or seal it permanently unless you're sure that it's not of no value at all. You don't necessarily need to get over your fear of heights, for instance. But your fear of spicy foods? Hey, maybe you'll make a good friend that is into spicy foods too. Take it one step at a time, introduce what is scaring you into your life in small pieces, and see, is there any benefit to this? Maybe the world will open up as a result. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.